Hello, in today's video I'm going to show you how to fix a creaking bottom bracket. You might be even able to hear it in the background. Let's fix it. Now I'm going to take away the solution right away, and that is to take out the crank, take out the bearing, grease everything up heavily and reinstall it. Now I've read and heard that some people recommend installing the bearing cups with Loctite. Now I have not tried that. Could imagine that it works. I don't really want to glue in the bearings. These are the tools I'm going to be using. This is to take off the crank. This is crank specific. And to get out the bottom bracket, this tool here, can't remember who makes it. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's quite helpful. You can do it without it, but you'll definitely need a hammer of some sort. And if you don't have this tool, then some long tool with a flat small end. Now the first step, we need to take out the crank. This will be different for different crank type. With the rotor system here, I'll show you how it works. I need an 8mm Allen key to take off this. Now the bolt is off, but the crank is still on there. They have this additional ring in here, which you take out with a cassette tool. So take out this ring, then put the bolt back in, then the ring goes back on the other way, and now I can extract the crank with the main bolt. Now this system does work quite well, but I prefer the SRAM system just due to its simplicity. So the crank is off, then by hand or with a rubber mallet push through. Be careful not to lose these rings. I always put them back on again here, and then put this to the side. Now for taking the bearing out, we need to knock it out from the other side. Now we could do it with something like this, with a flat head, making sure to knock it on opposite points. I'm going to use this tool, so I put it in from the other side. Then I need something to hit on, and then I can do it like this, bracing the bike with my body. Out it went. Now I need to get it. So here's the bearing, put this to the side, then doing the other side. Okay, knock the camera off. So here I have the bearings to test them if they're still running smooth. These are reasonably new, so I'm not going to replace them. Let's have a close-up look in here. I will also take out these split rings and grease everything up and then install it back together. In the carbon frames, these split rings don't exist. There will be a step in the carbon, but at least for this aluminium frame, the inner boundary of the bearing is this split ring. Now there are special tools to take out these split rings. I always use a normal set of pliers. So the way I do it is to grab the split ring here, pull it out. There you go. Second ring out, put it to the side. Next step is to take a rag and thoroughly clean out the bottom bearing housing. You can use some degreaser for this, depending on how dirty it actually is. I try to get all the grease out, and having the crank out is always a good opportunity to clean around the crank area. It's also a good time to give the crank a clean. Now the next step is the most important, is to grease everything up. I just apply it by hand, first into the notch where the split ring is, and then just the whole area. I apply quite a lot of grease. Before reinstalling them, I'll also give the split rings a clean, and also the bearings. Don't use a degreaser on the bearings. And the installation of the split ring works similarly. Press the other one in, then make sure it's really seated in the notch. Some more grease. As you can see, I'm just loading this up with grease. And the other side as well. Some more grease. Now I'm going to reinstall the bearings. For that I need this tool now, which works better for installation. The bearing and the hammer. And also on the bearing I'm going to put the layer of grease on the inside and the outer surface. Again, it helps to use a tool to press it on, otherwise it'll just slip. So you will notice when it's reached its position. And the other side. Of course, it's best to use a bearing press. So with the bearings back in, then more grease. Grease in here, grease on the outside, grease everywhere. Then I'll also wipe off the spindle briefly and apply even more grease. Also on the spline. And then everything goes back in again. Don't forget the rings you took off initially. And here I need to take off this ring, flip it and reinstall it. And it helps to grease this thread here. Take the chain, make sure to get the alignment correct. Also some grease here on the head surface of the bolt. And in it goes. Now here it notes actually 35 to 40 Newton meter. But I use my experience on how tight to torque this. Everything's back installed now, freshly greased, and without kitting up, I'll take it for a quick test ride. Now if this didn't solve the problem, the next step is to repeat and in addition to replace the bearings. This solved the creaking issues for me. I have to admit this is the third time I've done this. I've ridden this bike nearly 10,000 kilometers, and the first time the creaking appeared was quite early on, maybe after 1,000 kilometers. It lasted for 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers, redid it, and now I redid it again at nearly 10,000 kilometers. Not perfect, but I still like the bike. If that's what it takes to get rid of the noise, I'm not pleased about it, but it's okay. I hope this solves the problem for you too. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe.